What is world debt? That's something that's very misunderstood. The total debt of every person on the planet. It's the total public and private debt owned by the world. The total is $315 trillion for a planet's population of 8 billion people. Now, is global debt good or bad? It can be good, it can be bad. It can be good in building infrastructure, building out cities, that type of things, helping into industries, but it can be bad also. We're going to go into that. How do you measure it? What is gross domestic product, which is the tool that is used by the world to measure how fast the economy is growing? And what is the personal purchasing parity, which is an indication on how much money does each person have in that country to spend in the world. Okay. The real key is something called real gross domestic product. What that is the total money that a government makes after inflation has occurred. Some of the shocks, some of the problems that have caused what we call black swans or bad effects that affect the world market was the world financial crisis of 2008, the Great Depression, COVID, deficit spending, reckless spending, bailing out banks, no or slow growth, China and other countries borrowing large amounts of money, war, and as we said before, general infrastructure to build out. What we need to look is the debt to GDP ratio. What that is the amount of money each country owes based upon how much it produces in gross domestic product. And that's a key term that people use. It's also being called the debt ratio. Governments also, the reason why that's important, because what happens is there are rating agencies that will look at a country's solvency to see whether the country is solvent and what it owes. A rating agency like Finch or someone like that, if they give you a high rating, your cost, like a AAA rating, your cost to borrow money is lower. If the rating agency rates you, like Moody's rates you low, that's not good. Let's just talk about the United States right now. Later on, I'm going to be doing a video on the history of the United States related to GDP. The United States total debt is $35 trillion. That's 110% of the debt to GDP ratio. The personal purchasing power of an American is about $80,000, which is pretty high. The population of America is aging. Immigration is an issue. The credit card debt in America is extremely high, along with the student debt ratio. The credit card debt for America is $1.7 trillion. The student loan debt in America is $1.9 trillion. Remember, they're both unsecured debt. We're not talking about Social Security, Medicare, which is about $7 trillion, which is outside of that. And we're talking about potentially in the near future that oil prices may drop. If that does, that should help out the United States in gross domestic products. One of the biggest problems in the United States is that when you measure the debt to GDP ratio, you're not taking into effect all the individual states who have their own personal debt. The other thing to consider when you talk about global debt is the debt that the United States uses in funding wars like in Ukraine, Israel, and protecting the South China Sea. So that's pretty much the overview of the United States when it comes to debt ratio. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and have a great day. Bye.